Fellas, over the past couple of years, there's been quite a few fighters in the UFC with a brother that's also been in the UFC, so I thought now would be a good time to rank brothers that are in the UFC. So I'll rank them separately based on their own abilities, combine the score, and then whatever score that is will be the final rating for the brothers, categorizing them all from the best to worst. And in last place, the worst set of brothers in the UFC is going to go to the Tafa brothers. Justin and Junior Tafa are both the most disappointing brothers in the UFC. You've got Junior Tafa on one hand, who has had a pretty bad run in the UFC. He's gone 2-4, and he's a heavyweight as well, which, you know, it makes it less impressive that he can't even have success in the worst division in the UFC. His 2 wins are against Sean Sheriff, who's 4-1, and Parker Porter, who's 14-9. Those are his only 2 wins in the UFC. He's been finished not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 well, he's lost 4 times, been finished 3 times in the UFC. He's definitely not gone his way. He also lost to Daukaus as well, who was once considered the worst in the UFC. I'm giving him a rating of a 3 out of 10. Can't even have success in the heavyweight division. Finished 3 times in the UFC, lost 4 times, only won twice against lower level guys. I think 3s are generous, to be fair. I'm giving him a 3 out of 10, and even that's a generous 3. And then we've got Justin Tafa, the older brother. Now, he actually had a decent start to his career, and I say a decent start, I mean, he ended up going 4-3, which again, for a Tafa brother, is, I guess, decent. He just got knocked out by Talishan Teixeira in his most recent fight. I'm also giving him a 3 out of 10. He's also bad. They're both bad as each other, so the overall brother rating is a 3, and I think that's actually very generous as well. I think if we're being realistic, if we're saying like 10 is really good, I think like a 2 is more realistic for these guys. I don't really see how you can get worse than both of these guys. They can't even go on a good run in the heavyweight division. They're missing weight. They're inactive. They're getting finished. They're in the easiest division in the UFC. So the Tafa brothers, a combined rating 3 out of 10. They are the worst brothers we've had in the UFC in the past couple of years. And then we've got the Burns brothers, Gilbert Burns and Herbert Burns. Now, Herbert Burns, he actually got 2 finishes to start off his UFC career, then went on this big losing streak. He got finished not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 different times he got finished on that losing streak. And they weren't against like high-level guys either. Guys who I think most of them aren't even in the UFC anymore, and some of them are very low-level featherweights. There's literally a YouTube video called Herbert Burns Lowlights, dedicated to this one guy. He's also getting a 3 out of 10. There's always one brother in every set of brothers that has to kind of drag the last name down, and Herbert Burns is that guy. 3 out of 10. Just not really good at all. And then we've also got Gilbert Burns, who's currently, well, I don't know if it's updated, but was ranked number 11 in the welterweight division. Obviously fought for a belt a few years back against Kamaru Usman, but since then he's gone in a bit of a downfall. There's now on a 4-fight losing streak, and he's only really losing to top contenders like Bilal, former champion, Del Madlena, former champion, Sean Brady, top 7, Morales, literally one of the best in the world, so he's only losing to top contenders. He's also 39 years old, though. I'll give him a 7. I think a 7's fair for Gilbert Burns. He's not like a top contender. He's never going to be a title contention, but he's still in the top 15. He's had a decent career. He's fought for the belt before, so I think the combined brother rating is going to be a 5 out of 10. Yeah, Gilbert Burns, definitely a good brother. Herbert Burns drags the last name down astronomically, so for the Burns brothers, a 5 out of 10. Very average if we combine them together. And then we've got the Daukaus brothers. Now, there's going to be Chris Daukaus and Kyle Daukaus. I think, Kyle Daukaus is still in the UFC. Chris Daukaus, I think, got cut in 2023, but Kyle Daukaus, he actually had a pretty bad start to his career in the UFC. He ended up getting cut eventually because he ended up getting finished by Delidze, and he ended up getting finished by Eric Anders as well. So he ended up getting cut, but then he went back to the regional scene, picked up 4 straight wins, 3 of them by finish, comes back to the UFC on short notice against Michel Pereira, knocks him out in less than a minute, and then he just fought a UFC 322 against Gerald Mearshot and submitted him again in less than a minute. So he's had a really good run on his comeback to the UFC. I'm going to give him a 6 out of 10. I think if he can string together one more win or even break the top 15, I think a 7's fair, but I'm going to give him a 6. He's probably one of the best guys unranked in the middleweight division. 2 straight finishes in less than a minute, submitted a grapple and knocked out a striker, and he's on like an 8-fight winning streak in MMA overall. So yeah, Kyle Daukaus, 6 out of 10. He's a pretty above average fighter. And then we go on to Chris Daukaus. Now, Daukaus actually went 4-0 with 4 straight finishes to start off his UFC career. Actually became a bit of a prospect. Headlined an event against Derek Lewis, and this is where the downfall started. He got knocked out by Derek Lewis, and then that 4-fight winning streak turned into a 4-fight losing streak, or by finish as well. It completely did a big 180. It got finished in his four most recent fights in the UFC, got TKO'd in all of them, and then he got cut. So I'm going to give him a 4 out of 10. He's not UFC worthy. He put together a decent, couple of wins to start off his UFC career, but again, if you're not making the heavyweight division, then I'm going to have to give you less than a 5. I'd rate him more than the Tafa brothers. I think a 4 is fair. So the overall brother rating is again going to be a 5. Chris Daukaus is below average. Kyle Daukaus is above average. You combine that together, 5 out of 10 for the Daukaus brothers. And then you've got the Reyes brothers. Alex Reyes and obviously Dominic Reyes. Now, Alex Reyes, He got TKO'd back in 2017 by Mike Perry, and then he loses again. He comes back in 2023 after a 6-year layoff, gets finished again, and lost to Tom Nolan last year. So he's 0-3 in the UFC, also got finished by Charlie Campbell. His last win was in 2017 on the regional scene as well, so I'm going to have to give him a 3 out of 10. Your last win was in 2017. You fought twice since 2017 as well. You're on a 3-fight losing streak. 3 out of 10. You're dragging the Reyes brothers down. You know, this guy needs to go get a real job. And then Dominic Reyes, obviously ranked number 8 in the light heavyweight division. Now, he beat John Jones. That is his biggest accomplishment. He did beat the GOAT in John, or what, I guess quotation marks around the GOAT, but he beat John Jones, most people would agree. Followed up by 3-fight losing streak, got knocked out by Yuri Yamblehowicz and Ryan Spann. Then he puts it together again, 3-fight winning streak, knocking out Krylov, Smith, and Jacoby. Then above full 180. And he did just get knocked out by Carlos Ulberg, but to be fair, Ulberg is probably the top title challenger in the light heavyweight division. I'm going to give him a 7. If we're talking prime Dominic Reyes, I'm going to give him an 8 because he was like the top guy. Arguably should have been a champion in the light heavyweight division, but I think a 7's fair. I think still top 10 in the light heavyweight division. Knocked out a bunch of guys in the last year. Only really lost to the number 1 guy in the division. So I think Dominic Reyes being a 7 out of 10 is more than fair. So the overall brother rating is going to be a 5. Again, it's another case of one brother being really good and another brother dragging it down. Dominic Reyes, great fighter. Alex Reyes should never have considered MMA as a career path. So the overall brother rating is going to be a 5 out of 10. Then we've got the Usman brothers. I think these both guys are still both active in the UFC. So you obviously got Kamaru Usman, who is, well, I don't think he's 5 anymore, but he's in the top 10 of the welterweight division, number 8, I think. And he is the second greatest welterweight of all time. I would say on paper, he's the second greatest of all time. He went on a massive run between 2019 and 2021. I say massive, but, you know, he beat a bunch of names. He was dominating the welterweight division at that time. 3 finishes as well. Knocked out Covington, Burns, and Jorge Masvidal. 3 massive highlight reels. And then he goes on a 3-fight losing streak. Obviously, that big head kick loss to Leon Edwards, followed up by 2 losses to Leon and Chimaev. And now he's coming off a win over Joaquin Buckley, demanding a title fight that he doesn't deserve. But I think 8 out of 10 is fair for Usman. Anything less than an 8 would be disrespectful. He's not only a former champion, like I said, he's one of the greatest welterweights of all time. He's still kind of in that title contention of the welterweight division even nowadays. He's ranked in the top 10. He's coming off a good win, so I think Kamaru Usman, 8 out of 10. Not like a top contender, you know, not like one of the best at welterweight right now, and obviously not a champion, but an 8 out of 10's fair for Kamaru Usman. And then we've got Muhammad Usman, another heavyweight. Now, I guess he's had an alright run in the UFC. He's gone 4-2, which compared to the rest of the heavyweights on this list, I guess is impressive, but I'm going to give him a 3 out of 10. He's very low level. I've always called him a bit of a physical specimen in the sense that he's physically quite good for the heavyweight division, but skill-wise, he's bad. He's ploddy, his stand-up's bad, his wrestling's bad. He can beat these low-level guys. I think most of the guys he's beaten in the UFC ain't even in the UFC anymore. So for Muhammad Usman, obviously I'm going to give him a 3, and the combined brother rating is going to be a 5.5, slightly above average. Again, you know, Usman's one of the great, Kamaru Usman's one of the greatest at welterweight. Muhammad Usman just had to drag the reputation down. 5.5 out of 10, above average for the Usman brothers. And then we've got the Basharat brothers. Now, this is Farid and Javid Basharat, again, 2 active guys in the UFC. Now, Farid Basharat, he's 14-0, undefeated, and I've never really been bought on the hype of Farid Basharat, but he is 5-0 in the UFC so far, and I feel like I've got to give him a bit of credit. He's got to finish in there as well. I'd say he's probably one of the best unranked bantamweights as well. He's one of these bantamweights that are unranked that probably deserve a shot at the top 15. I'm going to give him a 6 out of 10. He's not ranked. Again, I'm not really too bought on the hype of Farid Basharat, but he's getting through these guys. He's got good wrestling, decent stand-up too. I think 6 out of 10, you know, above average fighter is fair for Farid Basharat. And then we've got Javid Basharat, who wasn't, I'd say he was more hyped up. He's the more hyped up brother originally, and now he's on a 2-fight losing streak, just got knocked out brutally by Ricky Simon this year. I'm going to give him a 5. Very average fighter, not as good as his brother in my opinion, but it's not like there's an astronomical difference. So the overall rating between the Basharat brothers is going to be a 5.5. They are just both very average. You know, Farid Basharat slightly better, which is why it goes from a 5.5 from a 5, but overall 5 and a 6, pretty average. Neither of them are terrible, neither of them are great. They are the definition of pretty average, or I guess mid. And then we've got the Bonfim brothers, Ismail and Gabriel Bonfim. Both of these guys competed on the last Fight Night card in the Apex. Now, Ismail Bonfim, He's not had the best run in the UFC. He's gone 2-3 in all 3 of his losses are by finish. He got submitted by Benoit Saint-Denis. He got knocked out by, well, he got TKO'd by Nazim Sadikov, and he just got finished by Chris Padilla. And he missed weight this weekend as well, which is only going to drag it down. I'm going to give him a 5 out of 10. He was once one of the bigger prospects at 155 when he knocked out Terence McKinney, but he's lost to 3 different guys now. It's not even like you can use the excuse that he's losing to good guys, because getting finished by Chris Padilla as well. I'm going to give him a 5 out of 10. Very average fighter. Never going to crack the top 15. But again, he's not terrible. He's UFC worthy, just not that good. And then we've got Gabriel Bonfim, who's in the top 15 of the welterweight division, number 14 right now, I believe. And he is on a good winning streak. I mean, he lost to Nicholas Dalby, but he's won most of his fights in the UFC. He beat Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. He knocked out Randy Brown in the main event as well last week. So I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10. He's broke the top 15. He's not really a top contender yet. He's not beating any, massive names at welterweight or any of these younger guys. But I'm going to give him a 7. He's definitely above average. He's good enough to break the top 15. He could become a top contender, so I think a 7's fair. So the overall rating for the Bonfim brothers is going to be a 6 out of 10. They're above average compared to the rest of the brothers in the UFC. Gabriel is definitely the better brother. He's in the top 15. He's only lost once in his entire career. Ismail's dragging it down a little bit, but again, he's not awful. So I think 6 out of 10 is fair for the Bonfim brothers. And then we've got the Walker brothers, probably one of the most entertaining set of brothers in the UFC right now. You've always got Johnny Walker and Valter Walker. Now, Johnny Walker, he's ranked in the, I think, number 12th in the light heavyweight division. He's light heavyweight's best gatekeeper. He's had a really messy career. He's a bit of a streaky fighter where he put together a winning streak and then he put together a losing streak. But he's just a very good gatekeeper for the light heavyweight division. And he has got some decent wins. He's finished Ian Cutelaba, Paul Craig. He beat Anthony Smith. He finished Khalil Roundtree back in 2018, and he's coming off that second round finish over Mingyang Zhang, where he just knocked him out as a massive underdog in China. I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10. He's a good gatekeeper for the top 10 of the light heavyweight division. When you start counting him out, he'll pull off a finish out of nowhere, and then when you start, maybe getting bought on the hype of Johnny Walker, he'll get knocked out brutally by a top contender. I think a 7's fair. Good enough for the top 10. Never going to be like a top title contender. I think 7's fair. And then we've got Valter Walker, who's just collecting people's hooks like it's heels like it's nothing. He's on a 4-fight winning streak, all of them by heel hook, which I can guarantee is going to be a record that never gets broken by the UFC. 4 straight heel hooks in the heavyweight division. The blob killer is what I like to call him. He's a top heavyweight prospect. He has beaten nobody good, so you combine those into account, I'm gonna give him a 6, even though I know people are gonna want me to give him more than a 6. Listen, he's entertaining. He's one of the heavyweight's best prospects, but he hasn't really beaten anybody good yet. He's beating these fucking blobs, collecting their hooks like it's nothing, and he's submitting them with ease, but he hasn't beat anyone good. If he can beat like someone in the top 15 or even like the top 10 of the welterweight of the heavyweight division, I'll probably bump him up to a 7. He did also lose to Lucas Brzeski as well. I think a 6 fair for a heavyweight. He's definitely above average. So the combined rating is going to be a 6.5, which is that's definitely above average. That's starting to get good. Johnny Walker's decent. He's a 7 out of 10. Valter Walker's ranked. They're both ranked as well in the UFC in their respective weight classes. I think a 6.5 out of 10 is fair for the Walker brothers. And then we've got the Shevchenko sisters, some sisters to add to this list. Now you've got Valentina Shevchenko, and I forgot what her sister's name is, but the other Shevchenko. Now, Valentina Shevchenko, obviously flyweight champion and powerful pound number 1 in women MMA right now. And she's a top 3, I'd argue top 2 women MMA GOAT. She's on this big winning streak. She's had the most title wins in the history of the... Well, you can add another one to that. This is actually an old image. It's now 12 title wins in the division. And she's just been lapping the strawweight, the flyweight division. She's obviously just beat Zhang Weili in one of the most dominating performances. And she has always been one of the best. Great striker, always been kind of the champion, the face of the flyweight division, and again, has just beat Zhang Weili. She's one of the greatest of all time in women MMA, one of the legends of women MMA, and she can potentially, become the number 1 if she keeps it up. I'm going to give her a 9 out of 10. She's arguably the greatest of all time, top 2 in women MMA. If that's not deserving of at least a 9, I don't know what is. I'm giving Valentina Shevchenko a 9 out of 10. I don't see anyone in the flyweight division beating Shevchenko, and I think she's got a chance at moving up a weight class. And then we've got her sister, the other Shevchenko. Now, she hasn't had the best run in the UFC. She's been finished twice in the UFC. She's gone 3-4 as well. And her last fight was back in 2022, where she was coming off a win, but she ended up not getting signed to the UFC. I'm going to give her a 4 out of 10. I mean, she got cut from the UFC. She hasn't won since 2022. She's 2-4 in the UFC as well, I'm pretty sure. So 4 out of 10, I think, is fair. So the sister rating is going to be a 6.5, which again, you've got one sister who's like astronomically great, the greatest of all time. And then you've got one sister that's not necessarily awful, but she's not really UFC UFC worthy. So he gets dragged down, but again, even with a bad sister, 6.5, he's still, you know, a decently above average number for the Shevchenko sisters. And then we've got the Topuria brothers. You've got Alexandre Topuria, who's fighting this weekend, and obviously Ilia Topuria now. Alexandre Topuria, I'm going to be honest, he's obviously Ilia Topuria's brother, which is kind of the only reason why he's hyped. He beat Kobe Thickness in his debut in the UFC by decision. And he has potential. You know, he looks skilled. He's the brother of Ilia Topuria. I'm expecting big things, but he's still massively unproven. I've got to give him a 5. I can't give him anything above a 5. The only reason anybody would have given this guy above a 5 is because of hype. Just because of his last name, I can't give him anything above a 5. So Alexandre looks skilled. He's got to prove it. I'm going to give him a 5 out of 10. If he can beat Bex at Almacon this weekend, then I'll bump him up to a 6. But right now, he is just a 5 out of 10. And then we've obviously got Ilia Topuria, who has just been speedrunning the UFC, knocking out Volk, knocking out Holloway, knocking out Oliveira. Pound for pound number 1. Well, technically number 2 now, but still one of the top 2 guys in the pound for pound list. And he is literally the best fighter in the world. So I'm going to give him a 10 out of 10. If you are top 2, top 3 on the pound for pound list in men's MMA, you've got to be 10 out of 10. I know people are going to argue you can't be anything higher than a 10, but if you are the best in the world, and you can't really get better than being the best in the world, therefore you're a 10. So Ilia, I'm going to give him a straight 10. So the overall brother rating is a 7.5, which, you know, for 2 brothers to be hitting 7.5 is insane. Obviously, Ilia is the better brother, but it's not like Alexandre is bad. He's just unproven. So 7.5 for the Topuria brothers, I think is fair. And then we've got some historical brothers I thought I'd include in this. You've got Nate Diaz and Nick Diaz, probably the most popular brothers in the UFC. I'm going to give them a 7.5 too. Nick Diaz was an 8. You know, he's fought the legends. He's fought the likes of Anderson Silva, GSP. He was one of the top guys in the middleweight division back in the day. What they did in other promotions as well. I think 8 out of 10 is fair for Nick. I'm going to give Nate a 7. He's not as good as his brother, but he's obviously still got some massive wins. He's had a good career. So I think 7.5 is fair enough for the Diaz brothers. And then the Big Nog and Little Nog, I'm going to give them an 8. They're both 8 out of 10 fighters. Great grappling. Beat a bunch of decent heavyweights. I think an 8 out of 10 is fair for the Nogueira brothers. But that'll be me ranking brothers in the UFC on a combined rating scale. Let me know if you agree, disagree, if I've missed any brothers out. Let me know your thoughts on this ranking. Thank you for watching.